Welcome to the Viking Age podcast. This is the official podcast of the VikingAge.com. My name is Chris Schad. I write for the Viking Age as well as Bring Me the News, Zone Coverage, and the Brookings Register. My co-host here is Adam Patrick, who is the managing editor of the Viking Age, and we do this every Monday and Thursday or sometime later in the week right here on the Viking Age YouTube channel. But you can follow us in podcast form the very next day on Apple and Spotify. But however you listen to us, make sure you rate, comment, like, and subscribe so you never miss a new episode. We can keep growing the community, checking us out every week. Adam, that was pretty good considering I didn't put the intro in the actual outline this week. Well, behind the scenes, but I don't know. Maybe that means we'll have vibes as good as the Vikings for this show. I don't know.
Yeah, can you take us higher? Yeah.
It's like it is everywhere now. Mm-hmm. Like it's starting to grow. Like they're singing it after games and playing in the weight room or waiting for the press conferences and everything. It's a thing.
I really enjoy Josh Dobbs just like coming right in and just grabbing a hold of it and putting it in his TikToks and everything, and just really just taking it all, because he's just really fun. Like I don't even care if like he's not, Patrick Mahomes or whatever. He's fun. He seems like a good guy, and he seems like he's having fun out there, and the Vikings are too because they're winning. So these last few weeks, even without Dobbs, have been a lot of fun, and I'm excited to see kind of where the rest of the season's going to go.
Yeah, I don't know if you saw the Barnwell and Courtney Cronin earlier, or I think it was beforehand, and Bill Barnwell was like, actually, he pulled the same thing in Arizona where he didn't know anybody's name, and I'm like, yeah, because he was fucking traded there right before the season, dude. Of course he was.
He didn't.
And Courtney Cronin's like the elevator, the locker room's like 30 yards from the elevator. I'm pretty sure he asked before he got in the elevator, hey, where's the locker room? Like, hey, I don't know where the locker room is to go down the elevator, so I'm not really slamming anyone here, but I'm just saying, like, he's not actually fun because he didn't know anybody's name in Arizona. He probably doesn't know anybody's name in Pittsburgh. Like, he's some giant dick because he doesn't know everybody's names. Like, if you couldn't tell, I'm a little bit annoyed today, which is astonishing because the Vikings
that's what happens
won.
after the Saints game. That's what happens after Saints games. You're just annoyed no matter what.
Well, and I mean, it's not anything like Vikings related. It's just. It's people today, man. I don't know what it is. I got people
Monday
all up in my mentions talking about, I don't understand the point of this article. Like, I don't know what game you're watching.
It's not for you.
Anyway, let's get on with the show, shall we? The Vikings defeat the Saints 27-19 on Sunday afternoon. They had a 27-3 lead at halftime. Then Derek Carr got hurt. Jameis Winston stepped in. I don't know about you, but I got instantly nervous when Jameis came in because, like, Derek Carr is like, oh no, here comes the rush. I'm going to dunk it down. Jameis like, fuck it, dog. I'm throwing it down the field. Yo, Lobo, yeah.
Yeah, that's exactly what he did, too. Like,
and he threw 2 picks.
He had some crazy touchdown throws, and then he just literally chucked it in the air and hoped that somebody would get it, but it didn't happen.
I could see Jameis just like, I mean, I was going to make the crab leg joke, but just like sipping a Gatorade or like, all right, let's do this. Just start chucking it.
He can't even see anyone on the field. He's just like, fuck it. Patrick Mahomes does this.
He literally couldn't see 2 years ago. He had to go get LASIK. And it was just like just squinting downfield like, And
he threw 30 touchdowns.
Yeah. And 30 interceptions. But if it was a fantasy,
he could have thrown 60 touchdowns that year.
Outside of Jameis and the legend, Jameis Winston is going to need his own 30 for 30 when he retires. Because that would be the most interesting thing ever.
He's definitely going to have like one of those 10-minute NFL film segments where it's just like looking back on the career of Jameis Winston and how special he was to the game, the sport of the NFL, and all that stuff that they do. Yeah.
Just the John Vicenda or whatever, the music in the background as he's just like chalking picks, just like in there, like eat that W. Probably just got demonetized for sensitive content in there. But
Yeah, probably.
the Vikings are now 6-4 with the win. They started the season 1-4, so that'd be 5 straight wins. Let's start it simple, Adam. What did you like about the win on Sunday?
The first half. Yeah, I mean, they were rolling, they were rocking and rolling, offense, defense. Greg Joseph was making his kicks in the first half. Just it didn't seem like the Saints had any answer to what the Vikings were doing. I found it interesting because Dennis Allen's supposed to be like a defensive coach, and his defense looked terrible. Josh Dobbs looked like he could have done anything against them. But then it got to the second half, and I wouldn't put it a lot on Josh Dobbs. There were a couple passes that he probably missed that he might make within a couple more weeks with some reps with some of those receivers. But the play calling was super conservative, and Kevin O'Connell, like, he talked about it after the game where he was like, "Yeah, that's all on me. Like, I got to do better." Because it was basically like,
do we have a Scooby-Doo moment on our hands? Like, it was PJ Fleck actually underneath
yeah,
the Kevin
yeah.
O'Connell
Well,
mask.
like,
Just like,
it's 27-3. You're just doing whatever you want to the Saints. Kevin O'Connell, of all people, should know that a 24-point lead in the NFL with 2 full quarters to go. It really doesn't mean anything unless you keep scoring. Like, the Vikings came down when they were down 33, so like it can happen. And the way that they were just doing whatever they wanted with the offense, it seemed like they were going to put up 20 more points in the second half, and they just didn't. They just decided to just hand the ball off up the middle on first and second down, and then they would have long third downs, and they would struggle to get them because the percentage chance of getting them was much lower than the short third downs they had in the first half. And yeah, I think they got a little lucky in the second half. They should have probably won more with that Todd Chandler touchdown. But that was negated by a weird Brian O'Neill holding, quote unquote, penalty. I don't even know what it was, actually. Then the Danielle Hunter thing where he got called for hands to the face, but he got his helmet ripped off, which was interesting to say the least. But yeah, I think Kevin O'Connell's going to look back on this game and be like, if I'm going to let my foot off the gas, at least let's have a 24-point lead going into the fourth quarter and not the third quarter. If you want to play that way in the fourth quarter and you're up by that many points, fine, whatever, do that. But in the second half, like, it felt like immediately they were just like, I know they got a field goal on their first drive, I think, in the second half. But after that, like, it was just like, they're like, all right, Saints aren't going to do anything. And then Jameis came in and he just was like, I'm just going to chuck the ball around. I'm actually going to throw to Chris Olave, which Derek Carr.
That was the funniest part of Jameis coming in. It's like all of a sudden, like, Olave had one target through the first 35 minutes of the game. Yeah. And then he goes down and Jameis is like, where's Chris Olave? Yeah. I'm going to throw it to him as much as possible. And holy shit, Chris Olave is good. Like, who thought that was the case? But, yeah.
Not Derek Carr. He just likes to yell at him when he doesn't catch balls being thrown out of bounds.
How much money did they pay him? Like,
I don't know, but not Derek Allen. Dennis Allen's, I think he said yesterday, like, Derek Carr's our quarterback. And it's like, it's something, it reminds me of like, yeah, it reminds me of what the Jets are doing right now, where they're like, Zach, he's actually like, he's gotten better. Like, yeah, but he still sucks. Like, just because he's gotten better doesn't mean he's good. Like, all these excuse making things where coaches have to, like, Kevin O'Connell's done it before too, where if Kirk Cousins has a bad game, he'll try and find excuses or puts the blame on him. But like, it was very clear as soon as Jameis came into the game yesterday that the Saints offense was much better off with him in there, regardless of, him throwing picks. And does he throw that many picks if he's in there for the full game? Who knows? Because, at the end of the game, they're down and they need points. So he's probably, trying a little more to get points quicker. But they were much better off. Like, when Derek Carr went out, I agree with you. When Derek Carr went out and Jameis Winston came in, I was like, oh no, here we go. Like,
yeah, this is going to be a lot closer than we need it to be. Derek Carr is signed through 2026.
No, he's not
His
making it. He's not
So it
making
was
it.
1, 2, 3, 4 years,
No.
and he got $150 million. The Saints have an out in 2 years. He's got a
Two.
$10 million roster bonus ahead of the 2025 season. The Saints can pick that up, or they can let him go for 28.6. They would say 28.6 million against the cap, but they would eat 17.1 million in dead cap, which really is like chump change when you think about it. He's also got a $5.7 million void year in 2027 because everybody has a void year now. If you are an NFL player and you sign a contract and there's not a void year attached to it, are you really an NFL player? That was a really interesting response to what you liked about the game because you instantly went into Kevin O'Connell's play calling. I'll start there. We'll flip it around and then I'll kind of steer it back in the positive direction.
Hawkinson, I liked him.
Yeah. Hey, hang on. I'll get to that. Okay. Kevin O'Connell in the second half. I do think the score had something to do with it. They were trying to run the ball and they cannot run the ball. No. I think that is a huge problem because Alexander Mattison, great guy, like awesome human. Everybody that is around that team and actually has access with that team has said it until they're purple in the face. He is not a starting running back. I have been saying this since June, or the second that Dalvin, like even when they were like, oh man, yeah, March. I mean, when they're sitting there going like, well, Dalvin makes 14 million. We can't really bring him back. Well, honestly, you probably could have. And I know Dalvin has been, his success rate is actually the same as Alexander Mattison right now. So, I mean, Vikings probably made the right call there, right? But yeah, I mean, maybe spend a couple extra bucks on David Montgomery because Alexander Mattison just isn't it. He's not it. And everybody walking around going like, how many touchdowns are you going to score? Why am I making like the Barney voice with everything? I love you. You like really I don't love Alexander Mattison right now.
No.
Like
he does have he does have a concussion, so I don't want to like rip on him totally because he did get a concussion.
Yes, he did get hurt. And yeah. I mean, man, like today, people are talking to me. And they're just like, Ty Chandler looked awesome out there, man. And I'm like, yeah, because you've been watching Alexander Mattison slam into the back of his offensive line for 9 weeks. And the offensive line apparently did a really good job in run blocking yesterday.
They always do.
So they put Ty Chandler out there. His stats look better if, you're
the holding call.
If you don't have that holding penalty by Brian O'Neill. I was trying to remember what I was going to say. But, it's 3 yards per carry. And I'm sitting there looking like, okay, I see the burst. I see the athletic. That's why people tell me like, oh, were you watching the same game? Yeah, I was watching the same game because he ran into Josh Dobbs about 2 or 3 times, which could have been on Dobbs too, because he's still learning the playbook, even though he's staying every day at the facility. He's eating meals at the facility. He's working on Tuesdays. That's a good thing, right?
Wow.
Actually, I'm Mike Florio.
But he doesn't have kids, so I'll give him that. This
is true.
He has time to not, take care of a family.
Kirk's like the guy that worked at Quick Trip and like me, like he was like me at Quick Trip, where it was like, I work Monday through Fridays and they'd call me on Saturday and be like, hey, Joe called in sick. You want to work like 6 to 2 today? Not particularly. No, I've spent enough time helping out crystal meth tweakers.
I'm gonna say this is probably why people thought Ty Chandler looked good yesterday, because in the first half he only had 5 carries, but he gained 31 yards, so that's 6.2 yards per carry. So that's when he was good, but that's really when the whole offense was rolling, and that's when the Saints really didn't know whether the Vikings were going to run and pass. In the second half, they knew the Vikings were trying to run and run the clock out, so they're just like, okay, Ty Chandler's not getting anything. But that being said, Ty Chandler still, like, I feel like every time he got the ball, he at least got positive yardage compared to Madison gets the ball and he just falls 2 yards behind the line of scrimmage because they give him a toss and the defensive tackle beats him to the sideline because he's just not fast. So, yeah, that's probably why people are like, yeah, Ty Chandler did well because they remember the first half and him just kind of just skating through the line.
Our standards are low. for
Oh yeah.
running backs. Like we're not expecting anybody to be Bijan Robinson. We're expecting him.
I
Hey,
mean,
can you get 3 or 4 yards of carry and make it 2nd and
was he
6?
returning kicks yesterday or punts? I
Yeah,
saw.
yeah. Over Kene Nwangwu, who also made an appearance. We
And he
confirmed that
did
he is
okay
still on
too.
the team. Yeah. So he was holding on to that ball a little bit tight, though. I don't know if you noticed that, but that one
Whatever. He
carry,
didn't
he was
fumble.
just like he didn't fumble. Yes. So that might be I feel like with both of these backs, there's some kind of ticking time bomb that's just going to blow up at the worst opportune moment. Like, here we are salting away the NFC Championship game, and Ty Taylor doesn't know the play. He doesn't know. Oh, the
I also
humanity.
think that the Vikings haven't fully explored, their running game with Josh Dobbs. They had a couple of plays yesterday where they mixed him in there, some design runs, but I think as they get further along with him in their system and their playbook, they can really maybe utilize more of kind of like what the Eagles do with their RPOs and things like that to really open up the run game. Because like you said, PFF and all them grade the Vikings run blocking is really good. If that's the case, then you just need people who can execute better out there and actually attack those holes. And Josh Dobbs can get some easy yards as well. So I think it's something that will be able to get better. And they've also got a bye coming up where they can kind of tweak some things around too. So I'm optimistic about the run game with Dobbs being out there. If Cousins was still out there, I'd still be like, it's just not going to get better. But with Dobbs, I feel like they should be able to do a little more stuff.
And there were also times yesterday where Dobbs's mobility was huge. Like
Oh
it
yeah,
extended plays. It's when it looked like he was dead to rights for a sack, he was just kind of like, "Oh, excuse me here. I'm just gonna get back to the line of scrimmage." Like there weren't a lot of negative plays because you had a running quarterback in there. And again, that's not anything against Kirk. It's not slamming Kirk Cousins at all. Kevin O'Connell even said it where he's just like, "Hey, Josh can do some things that Kirk," and then he paused and he's like, yeah, he does different things.
and they both give you just different options as well, because
Right.
obviously Dobbs is not the precision accurate passer that Cousins is, but he gives you other elements like being able to scramble and move out of the pocket and do those crazy runs. I felt like that run yesterday he had where he scored a touchdown, like that reminded me more of I know people are like, oh, Michael Vick or Lamar Jackson. I was thinking of people are gonna laugh probably, but prime Johnny Manziel, like Texas A&M, when he was just really
Schoolyard football.
feeling himself, just
Yeah.
beating Alabama and stuff like that. That's what it reminded me of, because Dobbs was just literally running circles around the Saints yesterday. It was really fun to watch.
You know what else was fun to watch was TJ Hawkinson in the first quarter
Yeah,
first half because that dude got the hell beat out of him. Like he
yeah.
came in with a rib injury. He was wearing like a flak jacket. He's like, screw it. I'm just gonna go out there and be a crash test dummy
You could
for a
tell when the
good 60
painkillers were
minutes.
wearing off for sure.
Oh yeah, yeah. Like he had that one catch along the sideline where he just
Mhm.
landed on his back and he's just like, just like breathing. It was. I mean, I owe him an apology. I do, because back earlier in the season, I'm just like, are we sure Sam Laporta wasn't a better idea? And Laporta was way off the board when the Vikings
Mhm.
picked, but they traded their second round pick. I don't know. Could you have taken Dalton Kincaid? Could you have taken one of these other tight ends who are doing pretty well? Some people would say Luke Musgrave. Well, A, he's not doing a lot, but B, if he's out of the Packer offense, I don't really know, because he was a good prospect coming out of the draft.
Future Travis Kelce, according to some Packer fans.
The Packers double dipped into that tight end class and got Tucker Kraft and Luke Musgrave. And that's nothing against Tucker Kraft, because I covered Tucker Kraft. He's an awesome kid.
Right.
But it's also kind of like,
Need someone to throw you the ball too.
what's the old meme with the LeBron draft?
Mhm.
There's LeBron, there's Darko, there's
Mhm.
Chris Bosh. I
Mhm.
totally just ruined the
Carmelo.
joke. Yeah, Carmelo, and it's like
And Dwayne
reaching
Wade.
into a bag with $2 million checks, $1,000 check, and a ham sandwich.
Well, it's is it the Family Guy thing where it's like you can either have this boat, or you can see what's in the mystery box. And he's like, I don't know. about
the box could be anything. A vote's a vote, and it was like tickets to some play.
Hawkinson is the boat, and Musgrave and Kraft right now are the box, and the Packers are like, what's in the box?
Yeah, I'm sorry. I'm just reading the comments here. Pat Raynard does not agree. All he wrote was really, and then he said Johnny. I think he meant a question marks there, but I see it because Dobbs was running around. He was just trying to extend that play, and he saw the crease, and he's like, all right, I'm gonna go. Like, I don't know. Like, people always use high-end examples when they see plays like that. They never go like, oh, dude, that looked like Tavares Jackson. Like, because he was mobile and could extend plays too. Like Christian Bond could extend plays.
Yeah, that was Aaron Brooks out there.
Yeah, what's Huntley from the Ravens, Pro Bowl quarterback.
That was Joe Webb out there.
That was Joe Webb, just making plays with his legs. Hawkinson's worth every penny because he is now second in the NFL in receptions among wide receivers and tight ends. Keenan Allen passed him late last night, but yeah, I mean, he's the security blanket target. Josh Dobbs is using the heck out of him. He just adds something there. And I mean, it gets me really excited to think, okay, you're going to have TJ Hawkinson. Even though he's a little banged up with the rib injury right now, you have Jordan Addison out there who's balling out for a rookie. And this whole offense, I mean, they looked great in the first half. Yep. So, I mean, Dobbs learns that a little bit more. You get Justin Jefferson back in there.
Against a good defense, too. Well,
yeah, I mean, the Saints aren't slouches. Like, they led the league in turnovers, and I don't think the Vikings turned the ball over once yesterday.
Nope.
So, I mean, they're starting to hit their stride, and this is what you want to see. You want to see a team get better as the season goes along. And the Vikings, when they were 1-4, everybody's kind of like, I think they're going to tank. But now we're going to talk playoffs later in the show. That's wild.
Yeah, I think New York Times, I think they have over 80, either 70 or 80% now over one of those to make the playoffs this year. Because I think I saw someone did some tiers rankings or something, and they were just like, what I came away with was the Vikings and how easy of a road they will probably have to the playoffs because they have to beat out the Rams, the Falcons, the Saints. Like, these are the teams they have to outlast to make it in the playoffs. So they could probably win, like, what are they at? 6 wins? Man. They're at 6 wins now. If they win probably 2 more games the rest of the season, they could probably still get in the playoffs.
Yeah. So. You want to talk about NFC playoff picture first, or you want to talk about Anthony Barr coming back?
We can save Barr for the end. He's on the practice squad anyways.
Let's talk about the NFC playoff picture because right now the NFC, it's pretty jumbled. You have the Eagles at 8-1. They were on bye this week. The Lions took out the Chargers. They're 7-2 now, leading the NFC North. Very fun game. Yes. I don't know. I think Coach of the Year is going to come down to Dan Campbell and Kevin O'Connell, and KOC might get snubbed again.
I think so.
Dan Campbell, man, I love our Ducks.
I mean, if the Lions get the 1 seed, he deserves it.
True.
Even if they don't, though, I think if they're like the 2 seed, he'd probably still get it anyways.
Maybe it should go to Ben Johnson. I'm just saying.
Yes. I'm very curious to see how they play next year without him, because he's gonna take a head coaching job for sure.
They're gonna do that, and they're gonna give Goff like the Kirk Cousins deal, and it's gonna be interesting to see how the Lions kind of respond.
And they're gonna hire they're gonna bring who's the old Giants coach that looked like an idiot? There's so many of them.
McAdoo.
Yeah, they're gonna bring him.
Yeah, slick back hair and the stash, and he worked with Aaron Rodgers though. He must be. He smart.
Wasn't. The funny thing was he wasn't terrible. Like I think that was like Odell Beckham's best year as a player, and like Eli Manning did really well too. But then the following year they just shit the bed. But yeah, back to the Vikings.
Yeah, so you have the Eagles and the Lions. Of course, the Vikings are going to play the Lions twice in the final 3 weeks of the season. But then, it's a row of teams the Vikings have already played and mostly beat. You got the 49ers. They're at 6-3. They're the 3 seed. Vikings beat them. The Saints are 5-5. The Vikings just beat them. The Seahawks are 6-3 in the 5 seed. The wild card, of course. The Saints leading their division, they get the 4 seed. So Seahawks are 6-3 in the 5 seed. Cowboys, man, they're
really good at beating the Giants.
They're really good at beating bad teams, and they're really good at losing to Josh Dobbs and the Cardinals as well. Like every week, it's just like, oh my God, look at who gonna stop them? Who gonna stop them Cowboys? It's like, well,
Mike McCarthy.
Mike McCarthy is going to try, and then if he doesn't, Jerry Jones will. And yeah, I like that Mike McCarthy right there. Yeah, get them lawsuits going, boy. I don't know. The Cowboy, like, call me when you're not shit kicking the Giants. I'm gonna go off on this too, because like the Giants, it makes me so happy to see the Giants just completely crap the bed. Now that they're not playing Ed Donatel twice in a season. Like, this time last year, Brian Daboll was like a freaking genius. Like, he might as well have been up on stage with like cherry pie blaring, just like flopping around like a seal on stage, just like hey, Ed Donatel throwing him dollar bills, just like shake it, man. And Daniel Jones too. You had all Vinny from the Bronx, like, hey, he's like Danny Dimes, he's Vanilla Vic, he run around and make plays. Yeah, Vanilla Vic
threw for 15 touchdowns.
Now you got Tommy DeVito, whose mom makes his bed, which
is very
I also lived at home when I was 25 for a while, but my parents, they didn't make my bed. They actually woke me up out of bed saying, get the fuck to work.
Actually, he's very loving. He's very Italian. That's not uncommon that he still lives at home and his mom like takes care of him. It's not like, have you ever seen Jersey Shore? I think his name's Vinny, and like
no.
Well, he's like one of the guys on there. Like his mom, like he used to just live at his home, I think, until he was like 30, and she would literally like do his laundry, make him dinner, and like that's normal. But yeah, not many places. I don't know why he admitted that stuff, but to him, it's probably not. It's not frowned upon because he's just used to it. So
and they could just be like, making the beds a little extreme, but like making meals and that stuff that makes a little bit of sense. Like, hey, we'll just take care of this part for you. And
you don't make your mom make your bed.
Yeah, that's a jackass move. Also, like that's just taking it too far.
The Giants are full. Like they could have gone out and probably signed a veteran. They could have signed Carson Wentz, but they're like.
Carson Wentz is on a practice squad somewhere, isn't he?
The Rams.
Rams. Okay.
They're like, we could probably get Caleb Williams if we just play DeVito the whole time. So yeah. I think that's probably what's going to happen.
And of course, Daniel Jones' contract, which everybody's cackling over, has a lot of funny money on the back end. So you could just basically be like, Vanilla Vic. Patrick Mahomes.
Yeah, I will say Brian Daboll did do a good job last year, like to just pretty much just squeeze every like ounce of whatever Daniel Jones had in that offense, which had like nobody, to just get that out there. And this year, just things just aren't going their way. Pretty much everything is just falling to pieces. And KOC just should have got Coach of the Year last year. He really should have. And now, and who else? He might be snubbed by D'Amico Ryans too. In Houston, he's doing a good job too.
Yeah, that CJ Stroud is straight up baller.
I feel like they should have separate Coach of the Year awards, like best
AFC,
first year.
NFC?
Well, like best first year head coach, because that's usually what happens. The guy will come in his first year, turn things around, and they
should do it like participation trophies and
like Bill Belichick shouldn't be like a 10-time Coach of the Year, or like Andy Reid, like. These guys have been Coach of the Year like twice in their
best
career.
Quarterback best coach with a godlike quarterback, and over here, best quarterback with a shitty best coach with a shitty quarterback.
Well, like MVP is not that way. Like it goes to the best player. They're not like the best new player. They're not like Geno Smith. He's MVP last year because he just had a great season. It's just
best coach who has shot himself in the foot multiple times. Brandon Staley, come on down.
I was hoping you were going that way.
Yeah. Just
He's
wait until he's our defensive coordinator next year.
gone.
Ah!
Yeah.
Let's get back to the standings in a roundabout way. So after SpongeBob Starfish, it's Patrick Starfish, geez. After all of that, the Vikings are 6-4. Then you have the Bucks at 4-5, who have a win over the Vikings, so they have a tiebreaker, but they're kind of fading. Then you have the Commanders and the Falcons. The Vikings have beaten the Falcons. You mentioned it, 81% chance to make the playoffs, you said? Is that correct?
I think it's over 80. I didn't know the exact percentage, but I was pretty sure it's over 80.
So I think the Vikings are locked to at least get into the playoffs at this point. And you know what? I think it could be fun. I really think it could be fun, especially right now. I mean, a lot of people are like, 2017. Yeah, Josh Dobbs, Case Keenum. Ooh, like, okay, like it's a little bit different because the 2017 team just had this like rock star defense that was like number one in the league, and Brian Flores is getting everything he can out of that orange. But you know, you also have an offense that could take over, especially, you know, again, what does this look like when Justin Jefferson comes back? Because if they can, I think the Vikings can at least be 8-4 by the bye. I think they can beat Denver on the road, and then you come home, you beat Chicago at home. You're 8-4. You go to Vegas, which I don't know, the vibes are still good, but they didn't look too good last night against the Jets, and that's a good defense. But
yeah, I was gonna say the Jets have good defense. That's the only thing they have going for them. But yeah, I think the excitement will probably wear off in Vegas by the time the Vikings get there. Like they're I feel like they're just riding that high of like fuck Josh McDaniels.
Josh McDaniels gone. Get out the cigars.
Yeah,
We beat
seriously.
Tommy DeVito.
I feel happy for them, but like,
yeah,
they're still not good. They still have who's like Aiden O'Connell's what their quarterback. Like, you think he's gonna solve Brian Flores' defense? No, I don't think so.
See, it's almost a bad thing that they went ahead and they pulled the trigger now, because they just wrote out Josh McDaniels. Right. I mean, that team needs a draft pick to get a quarterback.
But their owner was like, no, we're not. Like they had a meeting or whatever, and everyone told Josh McDaniels like what they didn't like about him pretty much, and he just like cried into a corner, and then the owner was like, the owner with the worst haircut in the world said that you were a mistake. Like, he's not one known for good judgment. By the way, I think the Raiders, even if Brian Flores' lawsuit's still going on, I think they look at him as a possible head coach next year. I could see him going there because the Raiders are an organization known for not caring about, you know, what the NFL likes to do. Al Davis suing the league and all that stuff in the past. So I could see him ending up there.
Just like the ultimate rebel. Here's the other question I have with these NFC playoff standings. Do you think the Vikings can catch the Lions? Because Lions got a pretty easy schedule, but you have those 3 games at the end. I don't know. I think they need to stumble at least once in order for that to happen.
Yeah, who do the Lions still have to play? Do they still have to they played the Chiefs already, right?
Yep.
Opening night. Played the Chargers. I'm trying to think of the NFC West. Did they play the Broncos yet? Not that fucking matters, but at the Cowboys. Like the Lions they close out the season. They got to go at the Vikings, at the Cowboys, and then home Vikings. That's not an easy stretch.
No, so their schedule, I have it pulled up now. So they have Bears this week. Okay, not tripping up there. The Packers the next week. I don't know. The Packers, like, I think they're bad.
That's Thanksgiving.
Yes, I think they're bad, but like they could like.
Oh, they could.
Like, at this point, I just want Jordan Love to pull a, like Daniel Jones and like give him just enough to be like, here's an extension, buddy.
I could see them losing at the Saints. In week
Saints is a tough game on the road. Yes. You get the Bears at home or Bears on the road after that.
Even that.
The Broncos at home. And then, Vikings on the road, Cowboys on the road, Vikings at home.
There's some potential for some slip ups for the Lions for sure. But like that, like even if they win all their games up to that 3-game stretch, the Vikings can still, if the Vikings keep pace with them, they can still win the division. Yes, they can. If they, if both teams keep winning once they get to that 3-game stretch, I think the Vikings are capable, because if they tie with the Lions, they hold the tiebreaker and they win the North. And And even if they don't, if they split things or whatever, they right now would be the team that they would play the Lions in the first round. And isn't there a saying like, you can't beat a team 3 times or whatever, something like that. So even if the Lions sweep them or whatever, I would still feel good about the Vikings' chances of beating the Lions in the playoffs.
Like I think the Lions are a good team. Like, I'm not shitting on them at all, but
They have flaws.
to say they can't hang with the Lions
Yeah,
is just kind of
they've won 5 in a row. What do you
right.
mean they can't? They beat the
They beat the 49ers.
They beat the
who's led by the offensive god, the coaching god of offense, Kyle Shanahan, and world's best weapons.
They lost by 1 score to the Chiefs. They lost by 1 score to the Eagles. They beat the Packers on the road, the Bears on the road. That's not really impressive. Falcons on the road, say what you will about them. Taylor Heineke wasn't terrible. They only won by 3 in that game. And they just beat the Saints. Like, who have the Lions beaten? Like, they beat the Chiefs to begin the year. They just beat the Chargers.
Chiefs without Travis Kelce, by the way.
They got steamrolled by the Ravens a couple of weeks ago, 38-6. That was embarrassing. Oh, they beat the Raiders. So, like, the wins that they have, I'll give you the Chiefs. They beat them by 1, and they really only beat them because the Chiefs couldn't catch, and they didn't have Travis Kelce.
And you know what? They didn't have to. Not only did they not have to deal with Travis Kelce, they did not have to deal with Taylor Swift, Travis Kelce. Who did you see? They got
replaced. They got replaced.
Did you? They had like camera angles everywhere. Yeah. Like Arif pointed out, there's an all-22, and.
But did you see the NFL replace Taylor Swift, their header on Twitter with a certain Vikings player? Did you see?
Yeah,
who they replaced?
The past or not?
Yes, Josh Dobbs is more popular right now than Taylor Swift. That's what my conclusion is right now, that he is more popular than Taylor Swift.
I saw a tweet before I came on today, and it was I don't remember who it was, just like that random for you, because X has like the following option, but the people like I want to read their tweets, I never see them in my X. They're always in for you. Yep. So it's like, I guess I'll go over to this cesspool. And one guy had a quote that he thought Josh Dobbs was just playing a real life Disney movie where he was a quarterback and an astronaut, and the Vikings would get to the Super Bowl and the Vikings fan would be like, go follow your dreams, go to the moon, Josh, or go to Mars, Josh. And he'd be like, okay. And he'd be in the thing and he'd see like footage of them coming out for the Super Bowl and be like, Houston, let's start to Las Vegas.
He'd be like,
come back.
He'd be like, go Sean Mannion, because you're the only one left who can play.
That would be its own Disney movie in its own right. Like the guy who just never plays and be like, the quarterback's off to Mars.
You know what number Sean Mannion's wearing right now?
Is it not 13?
It's 19.
19. Oh,
somebody else used to wear that number.
Oh, the disrespect.
He looks so weird in it.
Honestly, like maybe they should put him out there and just see if they like confuse the defense. Like, oh my God, it's Thielen. Go get him. And like, he's like, all right, Jordan Addison and JJ are over there.
I think Sean Mannion's like a good 5 or 6 inches taller than Adam Thielen too. He's like 6'4", 6'5", I think. Doesn't matter because he still can't throw. But yeah, so
you got an Aussie on the line here.
Oh boy, down under.
It looks like. Yeah.
Did you watch the Lions Chargers game yesterday?
I did.
Did you see that they had a commercial, I think, for like NCIS Australia, but it was upside down? Is that supposed to be a joke?
I think that was part of the commercial because I was looking and I have a Sunday ticket. So like, I thought like YouTube had screwed up for a minute. I was like, why is the picture upside down? What are they doing? And all of a sudden
those silly TV producers thought it'd be so funny to put an entire commercial outside.
I feel like CBS just like pumps out shows and then they just say they're the number one thing ever, but like nobody actually watches them. Just like they just fudge their numbers.
That's like
the number one new comedy and the number one new action show and the number one new whatever
that's
drama.
like, have you seen like the reels or the TikToks where it's like comes up like this? I think it's NBA stats or NFL stats where like this guy is the first NBA player to be born next to a bakery who scored 2 free throws while having an injured arm and his shoe untied. And it's like, wow, that's really, really specific. Okay.
That is history. You never know what you'll see with the NBA. Hey, go Wolves, by the way. Just want to throw that out there.
They have the least egregious court in the has their court been revealed
they
yet
haven't they have not done a tournament game yet. The in-season tournament.
I mean, it can't be any worse than like the Bulls or the Thunder or whatever. Just blinding.
I was like foo-fooing the tournament when it began. Just a quick little segue before we get into our last topic, but I was kind of just like dismissing it. I'm like, this is dumb. Why would you have an in-season tournament? And then I thought about it. I'm like, I'm a Timberwolves fan. Like anytime they like win anything, I'm going to celebrate it. Like they win the playoff game a couple years ago. And he's like, why are you celebrating the playoff game?
Oh, and you get Beverly meme.
Yeah. Pat Bev meme. And everyone's like, why are like, look at them. Like, why are you celebrating? Like you just won the championship. Cause that was our championship. We've been so bad for so long that like, that was like peak moment of Timberwolves basketball next to like beating the Nuggets in the 2004 Western Conference first round, like, or Chris Webber, Kevin, the Game 7 quote. I got my pumps, got my Uzis, got my nines. Like that is peak on the Timberwolves.
The Twins this year. Like that city was insane when they won a playoff game.
Yeah, everybody lost their minds, and like all of a sudden, everybody was like clowning them, like me, like jumped on the bandwagon because I've been a Twins fan the whole entire time. I'm like, I just want to see him win a playoff game. He's like, but why don't you like them when they're sweeping the Royals? Well, let's go back to running it back.
Yeah,
as the Vikings are going to bring back Anthony Barr. They're signing him to the practice squad, according to Adam Schefter, so he's not going to be on the active roster.
I think they have to do that first. No.
So he'll be on the practice squad, and then
he could still be activated. He could even still be activated for the next game.
Yeah. So the reason all this is happening is Jordan Hicks bruised his shin, and then he developed compartment syndrome. Over the course of Sunday's game. I looked it up on Google because I didn't know exactly what it was.
Not good.
But it's basically where blood can't get out of a muscle, like it just gets hit that hard, and then like the pressure just builds and.
He had to have it like drained or something.
Yeah. So he had the symptoms include severe pain, pins, needles, and uncomfort because, it's circulation. So it's considered very rare, but it must be treated immediately. So Hicks went to the hospital, had a procedure, is not going to be ready for Sunday. So the Vikings brought back Anthony Barr for depth. If you are not familiar with Anthony Barr, are you even a Vikings fan? But I'll read it anyway. He played 8 seasons with the Vikings after he was selected with the 9th overall pick in the 2014 draft. He ranks 15th all-time in solo tackles. He is 2 games shy of 100 games played for the Vikings in his career, and he spent last season with the Dallas Cowboys. You excited about Anthony Barr? What does this do for you?
Yeah, I mean, it's cool. Like I feel kind of the same way when Everson Griffin came back that one year. I'm just laughing though because you said it was rare for Jordan Hicks to get that what was it? Compartment syndrome. Compartment syndrome. Yeah, it's rare unless you play for the Vikings because then everything just rare happens to you. That's not supposed to. But yeah, Anthony Barr. It's cool. Like I think he was solid last year for the Cowboys. Is he going to come in and be a starter for you? I don't think so. He's obviously healthy because he hasn't played it all this season. But I think it's just a familiarity. He knows some of the guys still on this defense. He can be a veteran leader in the locker room and in the linebacker room and help some of those young guys like an Ivan Pace or a Brian Asamoah and just kind of show them the ropes. And I'm curious to see how Brian Flores will use him in this defense because coming out of UCLA all those years ago, he was viewed as like an edge rusher kind of linebacker, like kind of like a Khalil Mack kind kind of guy, Micah Parsons. But then the Vikings kind of just shifted him into more traditional inside linebacker kind of guy, and he made plays. He made 4 Pro Bowls, but that probably wasn't really what people were expecting when they drafted him. Now, some people are. I've seen some people already be like, the Vikings didn't use him the right way when they had him. And I'm like, he made 4 Pro Bowls, like
Mhm.
it's still good. And we always heard about like, oh, Anthony Barr is working with the defensive ends this mini camp. They're finally going to unleash him with his pass rushing skills.
It was a tradition unlike any other every
It really
year
was.
during OTAs.
But
But
yeah, I'm just he's a smart, like whatever he lacks now and physical ability that he no longer has, he has in smarts and just knowing where knowing offenses, schemes, what he can recognize. I think Harrison Smith's kind of the same way now. They're kind of. I think Harrison Smith came in the league 2 years before Barr, so they're around a similar age. And they those two just know each other from playing with each other for so long. So it's cool. I like it. I'm not gonna be like, oh man, look, they just got like this awesome linebacker, because there's a reason why he wasn't signed until week. What are we going into 11 now?
11.
So yeah, it's cool. It's always cool when guys come back. I'm trying to think of Randy Moss when he came. That didn't work out very well. Thanks to
Kevin
Greg.
Garnett with the Wolves.
Yeah, like
Like,
so it's fun.
yeah.
But pretty much every time guys come back, it doesn't really have that much
It's
of an
not the same.
impact. No, it's nowhere near the same. Because usually towards the end of their career, and they're just like, I'm just looking for. He's probably like, if I'm gonna play one more year in the NFL, I might as well have it be in the place, where I started with the Vikings and stuff. And he has his foundation and stuff out here. Not out here. I'm in San Diego, in Minnesota still. So I think that's cool. I get to work with that. But yeah, I like it. It's fun because it's exciting. Everyone likes nostalgia. Like I even did the stupid thing online where I was like, guys, this I did this rough drawing, but I did a quick Photoshop of Anthony Barr in a Vikings jersey. It's not the best, but here you go. And just something stupid. You can do stupid things like that, but it's cool.
You can wear your Anthony Barr jersey again.
I don't have one. I'm sure some Packers fans do, because I used to put it on like mannequins and stuff so they could like kick it. After because we glorified the hit with Aaron Rodgers.
I was about to ask if they're just like gearing up for a Super Bowl matchup with the Jets. Just like
right.
Aaron Rodgers after he makes his motivating triumph of the wills by coming back from a torn Achilles.
What did I see?
He leads the Jets to the Super Bowl.
He's trying to come back in December now?
Yeah.
I think
something like that. I don't know. Have fun with that. Just gets to the Super Bowl and he's like, I finally made it. I have conquered my wells. And Anthony Barr is standing in front of him,
licking his
like
chops.
The final boss.
But it's cool. Like Danielle Hunter, I forgot Danielle Hunter is, he was with him for a while too. So those two get to reunite. I'm trying to think who was even. So it's basically just Danielle, Harrison, and Anthony Barr now left over from the Zimmer regime on the defense, pretty much. So I don't know. It's cool. Is 55 even? I think saw someone ask, like, is 55 even available? Because I remember when Everson came back, he wore like
58,
46 or something,
and then he had to give it to Michael Pierce. So like Michael Pierce is wearing the 58 jersey.
No, Michael Pierce was wearing 97, and he gave it to Everson.
Yes, that's what I'm saying. And then Pierce had to wear 58. Not that you would remember it, because Michael Pierce was never on the field while he was with the Vikings.
What do you mean?
Yeah,
that was a great signing by Rick Spielman. He was a great GM.
2015, yes. 2020,
2015,
not so much. Anthony Barr returning you hit on a lot of it. I'm curious how much we'll actually see him play for them. Brian Asamoah has only played 27 snaps this season. I don't think between him and Lewis Seen,
he's hurt too right now.
Yeah. Asamoah. Okay. Well, between him and Seen, that's like wildly disappointing. And I don't think Brian Flores trusts him at all. We might see more 3 safety looks. because
Yeah.
Ivan Pace has worked with that green dot, which is another thing. Like, this is going to be a lot different than what Barr was working with Mike Zimmer, but it's kind of the same where
Yeah.
it's,
It's aggressive.
multiple looks and that sort of thing. And Barr is an excellent communicator. So
Yeah.
if Jordan Hicks is out for a while, which sure as hell sounds like he's not going to be back in like 2 or 3, like this could be an
After the
IR
bye,
situation. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, at the very least.
Yeah.
Anthony Barr can step in and take some of that leadership role. He can give them another veteran. Maybe if he's just a rotational player as well. Still,
Yeah, I
what
was
if
gonna
he's a
say, even if you
situational pass rusher?
Yeah, I was gonna say, even if you want to put him in on third down, I think that'd be a good use of him at this point in his career. Yeah, you don't need him to come in and be an every down guy. And I feel like their base defense pretty much now is 3 safeties already, because Josh Metellus he's pretty much out there almost every play. So they like, I feel like Jordan Hicks was really the only linebacker who was really out there for most of the time compared to Pace. So now Pace will have to kind of switch in that role, or maybe they do have Barr go out there and kind of split reps with Pace, because I feel like Pace, he's good. He's still playing well, but I think like his coverage, you can tell like some of his coverage is not the greatest, and that can get better obviously. But he's still he's a rookie. He plays well for a rookie, but yeah, he still has some flaws. But yeah, I'm curious to see how they use him as well, because like you said, it's a different scheme. There's some similarities to what Zimmer ran in terms of the A gap blitzes and all that fun stuff, but there's also many differences between this defense and Flores defense.
So what do we got going on at the Viking age right now, Adam?
Well, let's see. They're playing the Broncos. They're playing showdown with Chris Thomason and the Denver Broncos. He's covering the Broncos now, right? Okay.
Kevin O'Connell can be reunited with Chris Thomason.
He's in.
Now,
I saw they're playing the Bills tonight, and I saw Thomason tweet out like he's all loaded up on Duff chicken wings and ready to go for tonight's game. And I was like, that is such a Chris Thomason tweet. But yeah,
winning Rome, man.
Yeah, but they play the Broncos next week, so we'll obviously get stuff looking at that. Sean Payton, they get the Saints, and then they get Sean Payton. So exciting. And just some other fun stuff. I'm off starting Wednesday, so Adam Carlson, our senior member, Adam Carlson, who's been with the site longer than I have, he'll be kind of running the ship over there. But I think things will be, normal, and when fun things like Anthony Barr signing, we'll cover that and all that other fun stuff. I'm trying to think if there was. I think I want to try and do like a predicting the rest of the game schedule, because we haven't done that yet with Dobbs on the schedule, and I think it might be a little bit more optimistic than it was a few weeks ago.
Yeah,
especially after Kirk Cousins went down and everyone was just doom and gloom, and the sky was falling. So I think that's it. Like, I think the last thing I just want to say is like I've been really impressed with Kevin O'Connell this year. I feel like I'm more impressed with him this year than I was last season, just with the adversity that he's been able to overcome in terms of injuries and fighting back from 0-3 and then switching quarterbacks. Like, I'm really impressed with him, and I think the Vikings are set up really well for the future with him leading the way.
And where can people follow you on Twitter, Adam, or social media?
Twitter, X, whatever it is, Adam Patrick NFL, and on Threads as well. Follow me over there. Same username, Adam Patrick NFL, and of course follow Chris over on all of his social media as well.
At the real Chris Schad is where you can find me, whether it's Threads, Instagram, X, or whatever your social media platform of choice. I should do more TikToks, but I always feel like 37 and I'm kind of overweight. So like I got the like face for radio thing going on. So I don't know. I can't really like hop along. I wouldn't do like the dance thing. It would probably just be like me freaking out.
Don't do the Rick Spielman thing. Doesn't he have a TikTok where he did like a dance
Oh
video?
yeah, and he did like the way. Well, like his are like really weird,
Yeah, because
where he
he
just like looks
weird.
in the camera like super
Yeah.
creepily, like, "Hey, it's me, Rick Spielman. Let me tell you about this one time Malik Willis had an overrated chant, and I thought he was the next franchise
It's
quarterback."
clearly something where like either one of his kids or like his agent or something was like, "Hey, you should open a TikTok account and start recording videos." And he's like, "Yeah, I should do that. That'd be fun."
I cannot compute, but I will try. Error. Anyway, that's all the time we have for the Viking Age podcast today. You can check us out every Monday and Thursday or sometime later in the week on the Viking Age YouTube channel. Also, we're on Apple and Spotify the very next day if you want to hear us rant along while you're like dying on a treadmill or something. But however you listen to us, make sure you like, comment, share, and subscribe so you never miss a new episode and we can continue to grow this community. We've been seeing a lot more people here. We got a dude from
Yeah.
Australia.
Yeah, look at
He
that.
said, he also, I wanted to just point this out. He said that everything's upside down in Australia.
The toilet goes the other way.
So like, yeah, the toilet goes the other way. They apparently watch TV upside down too. So for Adam Patrick, I am Chris Schad. This has been the Viking Age Podcast.